to the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with your host, Alan Johnson. On this podcast, Alan will be sharing with you empowering, effective, and actionable knowledge within the health, fitness, and mindset space to help you make the progress and growth that you desire from your life so you'll become the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So now, get ready to dive into today's episode.
Hey guys and girls, it's AJ here and welcome to this episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with me, your host, AJ. And on this episode, I'm going to be speaking to you about Negative Nellies off the back of a conversation I had with someone the other day. So first of all, if you haven't already, please make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast. I want to make sure that you get all of the updates for any new episodes that come out. And also, could you take a screenshot right now with whatever podcast platform you're listening to it on and just share it on in your social stories. Okay, so Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and you can tag me. So on Instagram, my name on there is AJ Fit Mind Coaching. Please take a screenshot, share it on your social media stories, and tag me. This is going to really help your friends and family see what you're listening to and help me reach more people with my podcast, guys and girls. So basically, I was at my group trainings the other day, right? And a new starter that's been coming along for like a couple of weeks now, she openly said to me, this was actually the first session, she openly said to me that she's a bit of a negative Nelly. And do you know what? I really loved her honesty, right? And how many of you know someone that is a bit of a negative Nelly? You know, just most of the things they say with their language just comes across as negative. They're quite pessimistic. And this might even sound like yourself at the moment. Okay, so maybe be a bit honest with yourself. And my response to this lady was, you know, what's the reason for labeling yourself as a negative Nelly straight away? Okay, you know. And she basically responded by, you know, saying that she's got a bit of a negative outlook on life. You know, life experiences happen, and she just doesn't respond in a very positive way most of the time. And I think that's important to say. Is like, you know, she's a negative Nelly sometimes rather than all of the time. Okay, so you know, being a negative Nelly isn't her identity. Just sometimes that's the behaviour that she has. Okay, so the next question was to her was, would you like to change this behaviour? Okay, and the reason I asked this is because many people don't want to change their ways. You know, they're happy as they are. You know, they don't want to change, and that's fine for them. You know, I love working with people, and I will only work with people that do want to change. Okay, so obviously this lady was there for a purpose of being at a group training, wanting to improve her physical health, and I help my clients with their mental and emotional health as well. Okay, and I'll only help people that actually want to change and want to improve, because there's no point otherwise. Until you've got a person that actually wants to change, then you're never going to change that person. And even if you do help them, it's only going to be temporary. Okay, so like if you've got a family member that, you know, you're trying to help them change a habit that they're doing, but that person doesn't actually want to change, then you might be able to help them change temporarily, but until they have the desire to want to actually change themselves, then it's only going to be temporary. Okay, so that's really important. So the really positive thing that I felt about this conversation is that this lady is actually consciously aware of her sometimes not so positive behaviour. Okay, whereas many other negative Nellies out there aren't even aware of how they act and behave on a day-to-day basis. You know, we've all been there with someone, usually in the workplace, sometimes friends, sometimes family, and just everything that comes out of their mouth. You know, you're just stunned by it sometimes, that they just find a negative angle to come in at with everything that goes on. And the thing is what I've learned from my life is the more of a negative mindset that you're in, the more you attract more negative stuff into your life. And many of you might have experienced this before, where something goes wrong, you get stuck in that mindset and you keep replaying that over and over in your mind. Then all of a sudden, something else happens. And before you know it, a bad moment or a negative moment turns into a negative day, negative week, and sometimes months and years for some people when they get stuck in that negative mindset, which is the road that we don't want to go down, of course. So how would you like to respond to life experiences instead? So, there was like more positive, more optimistic outlook on life. Being able to like adapt to change as well, because sometimes people can become negative when there's lots of changes going on. And a lot of you, well, all of you would have experienced COVID-19 that's been going on recently, and the lockdowns, which is still going on as well. So there's been a lot of change with that. People have fallen out of routines, which makes people feel very, very uncomfortable. And sometimes when people feel really uncomfortable, it can then create a negative mindset as well. Okay, so also this lady would like to have the kind of ability and know-how on how to take on challenges in a better way. Wanting to, that desire to take on more challenges with their life to be able to adapt, grow, and progress. So I said to say, look, get a pen and paper at a more convenient time. Obviously, at boot camp, it wasn't an ideal time to do this, and write down the exact actual changes she can start to make with her thoughts, behavior, and actions for better outcomes. And this is something that you can do as well. So if you're resonating with this content, and you're acting and behaving in ways that you don't want to behave or act anymore, then get a pen and paper down and get some actual changes in place of what you exactly want to change. Okay, because that is definitely the first step, is to be aware of what it is that you actually want to change, and that you want to change it for yourself rather than someone else wanting that change for you. Okay, that's really, really important. So yeah, are you personally struggling with maybe being more negative than you'd like to right now? And maybe you want to just reach out for a little bit of help? More than happy to jump on a call together, like a bit of a discovery call. This can really help give you a little bit more clarity, and we can discuss some actions that you can go through with as well to help your behavior and your mindset, of course. Okay, so you can DM me, get me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. They're the main places. And that is it from this episode. Before you go, I'd like to just share with you, there is a Facebook community group on Facebook. So it's the Family Lockdown Fitness and Mental Wellbeing Group. All right, bit of a mouthful. So there is over 4,000 members. There's nearly 4,100 members now, okay, at the time of recording this podcast. It's a growing community, lots of positivity, free workouts, free meal plans, free PDFs, Facebook Lives. Everything's going on within that group, all right? So if you want to join that, just go to the search bar on Facebook, just type in Family Lockdown Fitness, and the group will come up, all right? And also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Please leave a 5-star rating and a review if you feel it worthy. I really, really appreciate that, okay? And don't forget to take that screenshot right now if you haven't already. Share it on your social stories, and that will help more people be able to listen to this content for me to positively impact more people with their physical, mental, and emotional health. That is it for me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next episode, guys and girls. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with Alan Johnson. Make sure you join Alan's free Facebook community group, the Mind Shift Movement Podcast Community. Please support the show by clicking subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. share this episode with at least one friend that would benefit from it, and share the episode on your social media stories. Please go and leave us a 5-star review to help us reach out to more potential listeners, and we really look forward to bringing you the next episode.